Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. Talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Facebook.com/Rogue Matter Podcasts and YouTube.com/Rogue Matter. Find us immediately after the live stream on all major podcasting apps. Join the movement. Go Rogue, RogueMatter.com. Tonight, Marvel sues its creators, Rogue Rage Netflix, and The Rogue Files, Tom Hardy in advance of the Venom movie. I am your host, Michael Daltrey, as always joined by my co-host extraordinaire, Mr. Hassan Godwin, who is in the room with me right now. With me right now.
I just want to go to sleep. I was asleep while you were doing that entire monologue.
That's why you wear the sunglasses, is that no one knows that
that's
you
always why
asleep.
I've worn. That is the number one reason why I've always worn the sunglasses. It's just so you don't know when I'm passed out.
Well, it's impressive.
Exactly.
I got to tell you, I like it. I like the moves. I like everything you're doing. Did you know? And because I just realized this, not only it's funny, right? Things like bottleneck in life a lot. Sometimes there's nothing going on, and we're like scratching and clawing. Not only does Venom hit theaters on Friday. But then James Bond hits the week after. And in between both is the start of and then the completion of New York Comic Con.
That's right.
It is actually legitimately... I'm not like concerned for New York Comic Con, but it's one of those things that every year it sneaks up on me, even though it shouldn't at this point. But then even worse of all is... this year in particular is the return to New York Comic Con. This will be my first convention attending. You can go check us out in Small Press booth 1849, I believe it is. I'm probably wrong about that, but it's somewhere in the Small Press and it's in the 1800s. So go check it out. It's 1846, 1849. There's a new layout. They redid the Javits. So it's vaccine only. So you got to be vaccinated to get in, unless you're 12 and under, in which case I'm not sure what the deal with the 12 and under is, but I know they're, trying to keep this as heightened security as possible. So I will give you in 2 weeks a convention recap from the floor.
That sounds exciting. Can you tell?
I can tell.
Can you tell I'm excited about it? That sounds fantastic.
I could tell. All right, let's get
the convention. The convention is like, I don't know, man. I think it's important. I think it's going to be, it has the potential of being like a lot of fun, but the word petri dish just keeps coming to mind when I think about
it's funny. It was always a petri dish. I actually think it'll be the opposite of a petri dish right now, because it'll be you have to wear masks.
This will be the healthiest convention.
I think it actually will. You're right. It's like people will be forced to wash their hands and to like wear masks. So I actually think this will be the opposite of every convention that you've ever been to. You'll be vaccinated. You'll have antibodies running through you. I'm sure they battle other things like con crud, like I'm sure it's like a super vaccine,
of which there is an over an abundance of that stuff.
Oh God. Con
and
crud
then, the close quarter. Look, now here's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
If I decide to go, I'm hoping for going probably on a Saturday.
Okay. It's a bold move,
having it be the emptiest Saturday that we've ever had in New York Comic Con, because I think a lot of people are going to just protest it because they're not vaxxed, and they're going to be.
That's a good question.
They're going to be the non-vaxxed who are going to protest it. They're going to be some of the paranoid vaxxed who are going to avoid it because it's too close for comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's going to be like the obnoxious vaxxed who's going to run around as though they are bulletproof. But I think those are the minority. So I think that the show will be a success, but it will be a pandemic success.
So Steve Hovecki, friend of the show, creator of McBride and Groom for Rogue Matter. Kids need a negative PCR test result within 3 days of being at the show. So they are going to test the kids, which means it's going to be even doubly better for you. There's going to be no kids there.
I want to know how, because we've done this before. We've worked security for shows this big before. When we were working for Wizard, Mr. Hovecki included, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I'm sure he will agree with me when I say I really want to see them enforce that law at the door. Wait till maybe a couple of thousand people are online at the door, and then stop. Pluck a person off the line and say, look, you can't get in because you don't have this form and that paper and that thing. That's going to be. I do not envy the people at the doors. I do not envy the read, right? That's read for the for the New York Comic Con. I don't envy the read workers who are going to have to be the gatekeepers of this particular con.
Yeah,
I'm happy for them. I support them, but I don't envy them.
This is going to sound kind of counterintuitive because obviously I still want to have a great show when I go, but this is I don't want to use the word like found money or house money. It's house money for me because I paid last year. So I've already it was a business expense from last year. Like at this point, I am just going to kind of get myself reacclimated to it. See how I feel? I mean, I'm definitely, I have not committed to any other show. Year? Usually I'll attend at least 3 shows. I'll attend to San Diego, I'll attend C2E2, and I'll attend New York Comic Con, and it'll be interesting to see. Like, I want to get my feet wet. I want to see how it.
Did you get refunded for last year?
No, I carried over. So I'm saying this is house money.
So you're not even spending money on this particular show.
In 2021, I am not. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right.
We will. We'll see how it goes.
Lots going on. Let's start with this. Go Rogue or go home. Marvel versus its creators. Marvel is suing comic book creators to keep Avengers character rights. Disney's biggest financial draw is the series of Avengers characters that have popped up on screen. Marvel's various characters have brought the studio billions of dollars. Now the company is launching several lawsuits against the heirs of those creations to keep the characters they help distribute and keep them, distribute them, and popularize them. Hollywood Reporter reveals the lawsuits are up against the heirs of Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, and Gene Coleman, among others. Disney would use these lawsuits to suggest that such characters are ineligible for copyright termination. So it's 2 ways, right? So last month, Steve Ditko, the estate of Steve Ditko, obviously he's passed on, filed a notice of termination on Spider-Man. Their law states that after a period of time, authors and artists can reclaim the rights to their work. The notice states that Marvel would lose the rights to Spider-Man in June 2023, meaning no films, no comic books or television shows could be produced without their permission.
Apparently so too would Sony, right? Apparently.
Yes.
Okay.
Larry Lieber, the brother of Stan Lieber, who is also known as Stan Lee, filed a termination notice on behalf of his late brother. DC had a similar kerfuffle with the creators of the Superman characters, but won the suit thanks to Dan Petrocelli, attorney at law. Dan Petrocelli was now has been hired by Marvel, actually, to file Larry Lieber, Don Heck, Patrick Ditko, Don Rico, and Keith Detweiler, all heirs to various Avengers characters. Obviously, if they lose the lawsuits, they will lose a handful of their top-earning characters like Spider-Man. Of course, this would mean a lack of content, as Marvel wouldn't be able to publish or create any new content focused on these characters. So this is the funny part about it, right? Marvel, I think you and I have talked about this, right? Like, Marvel doesn't look good these days with this kind of stuff, right? I mean, they have the Scarlett Johansson lawsuit. They have.
Wait, you mean like Disney?
Yes.
Disney's MCU Studios. Okay,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they could.
I mean, Disney is Marvel, so there's no really separating the two.
Well, I mean, yeah, but there's Marvel Publishing, which doesn't really have much to do with some of these lawsuits, right? Doesn't have anything to do with the Scarlett Johansson thing, right?
Right.
So
no, it is a separate lawsuit. Yes, it is definitely a separate lawsuit, but it is something that seems to be popping up again in the news a lot, I guess. Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, because of this stuff. I mean, like, what are the other examples? It's Scarlett Johansson. There's this, right? But these people are just trying to take from across the board, right? They just want their characters back in total. They're not even just talking about movies, right? They're talking about everything. They want everything back, right?
Correct.
Which case they would get ownership and then either do product of their own or license it back to Marvel, but then they would be the ones receiving the payout for it.
Correct.
And so Marvel's basically holding up contracts saying, no, these people they all signed these contracts and thus we have these into perpetuity.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, but they're dead now, and the contracts have expired and whatever, and we want the intellectual property back, right? Do I have that? Am I assessing that correctly?
With the one caveat you left out, which was we want a piece of these billions of dollars, because that's what it's really coming down to, right?
I'm pretty sure that's what I meant by they would license the characters back to the MCU,
correct?
So that they could be used for
correct.
So I mean that's where the billions would come from, correct? Right? So yeah, then I am correct,
right? And it's not. I mean, here's the question, right? Like, and that's why I kind of prefaced what you were saying with, a little more oomph, I would say, in the fact that it just comes down to the money, right? Like, we're not actually in danger of losing these characters. However, we've seen lawsuits take funny twists and turns sometimes. Now, and obviously, I don't know if we've seen it in our industry necessarily, but there's definitely, some civil lawsuits, some copyright lawsuits that don't go the way you think it's going to go, and then all of a sudden, we don't have Spider-Man. So part of me, I should say, not part of you. Part of me is kind of rooting for Disney here. Like, I'm sure all these heirs feel entitled to their, father's creations or mother's creations or person's creations, and feel entitled to the billions of dollars that go along with it. And in a way, they kind of do, though I do understand work for hire is exactly what that is, right? I mean, how would they know in 1962 and 1963 and 68 and 70? I mean, how would you know that it was gonna escalate to this? But you did sign a contract, and at the end of the day, this will grossly impact me if this goes sideways. And for that reason, and that reason alone, I'm kind of like, kind of just I would like more. I would like Spider-Man. Steve O'Becky, that's a selfish take. Yes, I think I framed it as a selfish take for sure.
All right, never mind then.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was just basically going to ask you that. I'm like, your attitude is basically screw the artists and the artist family and them being remunerated for the work that they did.
Yeah,
because you'd lose the movies that, might I add again, you don't even watch.
No, I watch the movies. The movies I go.
When
TV shows.
When we have an opportunity to review something or to look at something or to talk about something, you just skip it. So you're not even really. You just want to have them in the holster.
Skip. Define skip.
You know what? I'm not going to define skip for you. Because if you don't know what skip means, then me explaining it to you is not going to do you any good.
What is the definition?
Define skip.
I just
exactly.
But
exactly. All right.
The 90s are back, so
that's the end of that.
All you kids, go look up what the definition of is, and you'll.
That's too bad about
find
Marvel.
Some 90s gold.
But I'm pretty sure that conversation's over. What's the next topic?
No, that is the only topic. The funny thing about this. Recently, I saw a blog from Tom Brevoort, and it was something about, maybe it was the Tom Brevoort. I think I was probably on the Brevoort page, and I saw something else. There's a great video out there with Jim Shooter.
Define to the uninitiated who Brevoort is.
Brevoort is the executive editor, I believe, is his title at Marvel. Okay. Again, I might have been on his blog and then found this elsewhere, but there's a video.
I might have been stalking him. I might have been following him home.
Jim Shooter was the former editor-in-chief at Marvel, and Jim Shooter also started Defiant. He started Valiant Comics, or he was he's part of the whole Valiant Comics back in the day. I
used to work at Valiant. Full disclosure.
What's that? Oh,
I used to work at Valiant. Full disclosure.
Parent company. No, we don't have to say that, thankfully.
That's a wizard.
an instance where it's a really great take. I think it's on The Beat, actually, the Beat website, where a Marvel suit called him up and was like, technically, we don't have an agreement in place for the rights to a character created under your run. And he's like, whatever, I signed a work for hire contract. It's cool. He's like, no, I'm going to give you $10,000. And he's like, no, I'm fine. Like, look, it was work for hire. I understood what I was doing. I have no problem. He's like, just take the money. He had to like literally be convinced. Like if you Google this, he had to literally be convinced to take the money. Theoretically speaking, if you just found out Jim Shooter took $10,000 for, I think it was like Nebula or something. It was like one of those characters that, while not necessarily a key player in the Marvel universe, in the MCU, garnered a significant amount of screen time to the point where the executive had to actually tell him, like, just take the money. But it's not a lot of money.
Well, I mean, on the other hand, like if you found out that one of your characters, say like Nebula, or to the caliber of Nebula, who has been in several different iterations of the MCU stories, as well as a couple of episodes of What If. So she's in the multiverse, right? Yep. And then you get your check and it's only for $10,000. You'd still feel cheated. So.
No, agreed. Like that's my point though. Like the actual, it probably wasn't Nebula. I think Nebula was Jim Starlin, but
it's a hypothetical. You don't have to clarify hypothetical. I get what you're saying. I was using that as a hypothetical,
right?
You know.
But here's the funny part though, is that he didn't want anything. He literally wanted nothing. So if you just read that Jim Shooter took $10,000 to invent X character, then you're like, wow, he really got screwed. However, he really, in his mind, he's like, yeah, all right, give me $10,000. I don't want it, but I'll take it.
No. That's not how it works. You don't define your worth. Your work and the amount of publicity or the amount of business your work gives you defines the worth of your work, right? So you can get screwed into getting way less than what you're worth by signing, a bad deal, or, falsely signing a contract that you didn't look over, which, gives, says that the company, you have to work for X company into perpetuity and this and that, and you get very little back. But your work will have its worth whether or not you get paid for it or not. Someone's going to make money off of your worth. It doesn't, whether or not you sign a contract doesn't define your level of worth. That's why you have to be very careful, because someone's going to be making money off of what you're doing. It would be more beneficial to you if that person was you. But rest assured, someone's getting paid, or else no one would be doing any of this at all.
I full-heartedly agree with you. It's bad for the show, and I shouldn't, but it's absolutely true. Someone is making money. Why not be you? If someone asks you if you're a god, Ray, you say yes. If someone offers you $10,000, you take it. Like, you just take it. All right, what do you guys think?
No. Bad advice. You assess how much the work that you're doing them is worth, and then decide whether or not $10,000 is worth it for you. You don't just blanket take $10,000 from anybody who's offering it to you, because they could be about to flip it into $1 billion, and you've only got $10,000.
You know, this is going to be a very random fact that I know, but I'm very learned. The founder of Victoria's Secret.
Yes, I know that story.
You know that story, right? He ended up selling it for something.
And you see what happened.
Yeah.
And you see what happened.
Didn't end
right?
well. He didn't understand.
It never does.
He didn't understand the economics.
That's why you have to get someone who understands. That's all. But I mean, you got to make sure that you get that person who understands. You don't just go $10,000. You know what I can buy? I could buy a whole lot of ice cream with $10,000. That's not what you do.
There's an amazing Simpsons episode that I have to rewatch at some point. It's funny. I would rewatch Simpsons over What If. Like, I would go through all the seasons. I have no problem doing that.
That's a random sidebar that I'm not going to engage with. Next.
When we come back, Venom is back, and we're going to profile the man behind the tongue. We're doing a rogue file on Mr. Tom Hardy. What were his best roles? What makes him a rogue? And how much is Hassan excited to see this movie when we come back? Here we are. All right. How's that now? How's that? I think that's good.
I don't know. I can't hear.
All right. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. I'll edit that out later. See how that works? For anybody who didn't just catch us talking behind the scenes, I am gloating over the logo for the Rogue Files. Like, how good is that? It's great. I know. Everybody. Chime in all at once in the Facebook feed. We want to do something kind of cool, right? So I kind of said, all right, oh, you know who that was that stopped us? It was Rogue Matter. We were belittling Rogue Matter. We were saying that they don't even want to listen to our podcast, but it endears them to the they shut us down, Hassan. They shut us down.
Rogue Matter shut us down because we what? For what reason? What was their particular reason?
We were belittling the higher ups, the suits.
You were. I wasn't. Let's let the record show.
Next week, Hassan hosts the Rogue Wave podcast. Your reward for your
logos will improve.
What's that?
Our logos will improve. Oh yes, I did.
Look at that.
I went there.
I put a little TM there.
I went to visit. It was a wonderful place. I think I'll buy a house there. That's how wonderful it was being there.
I want to share. Anyway, I want to share this.
What's the topic?
It's Tom Hardy. Okay,
yeah,
okay. So it's a cool thing. The Rogue Files, which I thought was pretty good. We were doing a profile on different rogues in the industry, and I think Tom Hardy definitely qualifies as a rogue, right? If we were to define rogue, a rogue is someone who. Oh, we'll get there. Don't worry. I got this.
Did you write that down? Are you looking for your notes to figure out what a rogue is?
Someone displaying independence or failing to follow an expected script. I think that pretty much sums up Tom Hardy's entire career. Am I right or am I wrong on that?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. His work has been a little irreverent. Let's just say so.
And his career path has been I think extremely. I don't think his map is like the map you do. Like you would sit there and be like, here's how you become a huge superstar. And he is. He's like legitimately a huge superstar, but he's a leading man who doesn't seem to fit the leading man description. I don't know, for lack of a better term.
Okay. Tom Hardy, you're talking about,
Yes.
basically, right? All
Yes.
right. Okay. If I will accept that as a, I
He's
don't
been
know.
in two.
He's really good. I mean, if you're gonna say he's not a movie star, I don't know what that means. But okay, I'm listening to you.
Yeah, I was just going to say he has been in two different blockbuster franchises in the comic book world, both in very, I don't know, I don't know if you, kind of like obscure in a way. Not Batman. Now, Batman is obviously not an obscure franchise in any way, shape, or form, and Venom
It was
is
Bane.
not an obscure character. However, he was Bane. Out of all the characters that they could have picked to wrap up the Nolan trilogy, what was your initial reaction or your initial take when you found out Bane was the villain in the third Christian Bale, uh, Christopher Nolan Dark Knight saga?
I mean, look, I got my issues with that saga, so I didn't really think much. I said, look, no one's gonna beat Heath Ledger. I think that's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know at the time. Probably when I first heard about Bane, I didn't know exactly who was going to be the one who played him. Um, I was optimistic, but I didn't expect too much from it. And then that first, I don't know, that first, there was this time a couple of months before the film premiere that they showed the entire opening sequence with the plane crash.
Yeah.
For the Dark Knight Rises, and I was thoroughly unimpressed with that. So, there's that. Now, in the course of watching the film, I was more and more impressed with Tom Hardy. But I mean, he did, his shoes were massive. He had to fill Heath Ledger's shoes. Those shoes are massive. That was not even though I didn't like any of the Nolan films. I think they still produced the best Joker that we've seen on screen for the longest. So, like I said,
I don't know, that David Ayer cut is supposed to be fantastic. That David Ayer cut.
I'm done with the cuts. I'm done.
It's got that.
I watched the Justice League cut, and I was like, okay, well, we did that. And I actually do like the Justice League cut better than the original cut that we got. The Ayer cut, I think we all need to just stop with Suicide Squad. I think we need to let it rest. Let it lie. Yes.
Peacemaker's
We've had two directors take a shot at it. Huh?
Peacemaker's coming out in less than 2 months.
That's a TV show. That's different. That's like a Disney Plus Star Wars show that doesn't really count until it counts. Right?
Fair enough.
Mandalorian was very cute until the Mandalorian became a seminal piece of Star Wars lore, and now it's larger than life and spawning spin-offs and stuff like that. So we'll see what Peacemaker does. But I'm not gonna alter my world perception until I see something substantially special coming out of it.
Okay. So he's donning the Venom costume.
Who's he?
Again. Tom Hardy.
Okay, Tom Hardy. Okay.
All right. And
yep.
I know it's not necessarily on your top list of films you are excited to go see. However, I think something about him again as an actor and again the way he handles his career. I found this on Cinema Blend. Tom Hardy was asked to discuss what he thought about the first Venom's less than stellar critical reception. I think with anything, you want something to do well that you care about, and obviously it didn't carry any water with the critics. He laughs. They literally panned us, but the audiences turned out in droves, which was what was so lovely about it. It was like watching an underdog be lifted up and be presented and enjoyed and relished for what it was. We got straight on the phone to Tom Rothman at Sony and said, look, can we put a pitch in to do the second one because we're really keen to take what we learned from the first and get on and start writing that second one to get on the floor again and see if we can push it further. I want to just highlight that one word for you, or that one sentence. Relished for what it was. That is why I love this film. That is why I enjoyed the first Venom, because it was so bonkers and so off the wall. But it wasn't trying to be something else. It knew exactly what it was. And I thought He was exquisitely enjoyable in the film. Now, I know you don't agree, so I'm not asking you to, unless you'd like to expound on why you don't agree, that I'll give you the floor. Based
what
on,
do you mean, like, don't agree? I neither agree nor disagree with whether or not you enjoy Venom or anybody else enjoys Venom. That's not for me to say. If you enjoyed Venom, the more power to you. I'm looking forward to hearing your reaction to the movie when it comes out. I think it comes out this week, right?
Yeah, it comes out Friday.
Week. So, yeah. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to hearing you excitedly explain how it was just as good as the first one, or, it topped the first one, blah, blah, blah.
I don't know if it's going to now. I have higher expectations for it now.
That's you doing that to you.
I know.
But, I mean, you shouldn't do that, probably. That's all I'm saying.
The reason I brought that article up, though, is I wanted you to see, and I wanted to get your take. When he says, take what we learned and push it further. I know you don't like speculation, so I'm not asking you to speculate. I'm asking you to analyze that line that he said there. Could that be taking the campiness and going even further? Or are they going to take what they learned from the critical reception and say, you know what, we learned that this is a 90s throwback movie, and to repeat ourselves might be a mistake? It's a very interesting line, right?
No. No. Everybody says that. Everybody, we're going to push the envelope. We're going to do something no one's ever seen before. We're gonna crank it all the way up to 11. We're going to turn this into a roller coaster ride. We're going to turn this into an extravaganza. This is going to be the greatest blah, blah, blah. If you like the first one, you should come back. It's all whammy talk. It doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. Look, if you like the film, you come back and you say, I saw the first one and I saw the second one, and the second one blows the first one away. That's information you can listen to. If you're listening to what someone says in a press junket, you're already a little too desperate to be able to appreciate the movie in the first place.
Okay.
In my humble opinion.
All right. Fair enough. All right. This is the Rogue Files. We are talking about Tom Hardy. I wanted to obviously give a little preview for Venom because it's coming out this week, and we'll review it next week. But your favorite...
You will.
Yes, I will. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for this, which I think is going to be, as you can tell, very exciting.
Yes. I wondered if you were excited or not.
I don't know.
You still haven't explained to me whether you were excited.
What would you call
now
his?
I'm suspecting you're bordering on excited. Go ahead.
I'm over the line. I'm crazy. It's crazy. What would you say is his most defining role for you?
Tom Hardy?
Yeah.
I'm gonna accept. I'm gonna upset everybody and say Shinzon from Star Trek.
That is very upsetting. That is an obscure take.
No.
From Star Trek
my
Nemesis.
favorite to date is Mad Max. He played Mad Max. He played the titular role in the Mad Max Fury Road film, which he replaced Mel Gibson.
Not an easy thing to do, right?
No, it's not. One would argue that Max might be the easiest character to, I guess you would call it sublet. It would be the easiest character because he doesn't really talk and he just gives attitude. He's like Snake Plissken, He's
right.
he's just get his name wrong and then move on. But I think he was one of the few people who had enough gravity to him where people didn't miss Mel Gibson. That's pretty tough.
Yeah.
The character in and of itself is an easy character to inhabit, but replacing Mel Gibson, warts and all, whatever you think about him, whatever his controversies, and there are quite a few, his presence is so larger than life that if you're going to take his role, you better be larger than life yourself. And I think he did a great job. And one of my favorite movies. And Jesus, that's 6 years ago already.
Yeah, it was a simpler
2015.
time back right?
Yeah. 2015 was a simpler time. All right, fair enough.
It was,
fair enough. Yeah, you know what? In many ways, it was.
In many ways, right?
In many ways, it was a simpler time. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
I'm gonna go. John Fitzgerald in The Revenant, and only being because I didn't know it was him. I mean, what a makeup job, right? Like it's one of those things where I'm like, I know Tom Hardy's in this movie.
That's why I made the joke about Shinzon, because he's like, people are like, wait, that was Tom Hardy? And like, yeah, that was the early Tom Hardy before anybody knew who Tom Hardy was. And just like also Bane. Like if you're thinking the guy from The Revenant was also Bane,
right?
With that's not gonna be the first thing you think of. Tom Hardy. When I heard Tom Hardy was gonna play Bane, I was like, really? They're gonna get Bane? They're gonna get really small Tom Hardy to play Bane?
I know.
No, not small at all.
movies are magical, aren't they? Actually, my favorite role is in The Last Jedi. He was FN 926 in a deleted scene. But you had an interesting question for me, and we'll throw this out to the audience as well too. It's a tough role because he's also very. It's not a kind role in the sense of
The Revenant.
Yeah, he's a villain. The Revenant. He's very easy to despise him in this film. Not a morally sound character, not a noble character.
No, he's a piece of crap, actually.
Right, and I know
he's an unrepentant and very proud piece of crap in that film.
And we were talking that is sometimes. I know I've read stories about roles that are offered to people, and they don't want to be seen this way, no matter what. So it doesn't matter that they're an actor. They're not excited to jump into the role of a villain. And you had then asked me the question. What was the question?
I asked you if you could think of actors who are just as good at being heroes as they are being villains, or the vice versa, who are just as good as being villains. Because I think that's a little harder. I think if you play a hero that's endearing to people, and then a couple of movies later you show up as a villain who is absolutely despicable, I think that's a full spectrum of being able to act, and not a lot of people can do it. So I wondered if you thought of any actors that were convincing to you as both the good guy and the bad guy.
I would say Anthony Hopkins, because he plays one of the most iconic villains of all time.
Oh, that's not bad.
Right?
That's not bad. Yeah. Yeah, I see it.
Pretty good.
I see it. Yeah, not bad.
He can go back and forth.
My number one guy in that, which is really odd, but is probably Jeff Bridges. I think Jeff Bridges plays an amazingly creepy bad guy in like movies like Jagged Edge, movies like The Vanishing, that kind of situation. But he is one of the most endearing, lovable heroes that you've ever seen, even now in his old age, where he's more flinty and he's kind of got that dude vibe going from
that's
from the
to
Big
me
Lebowski.
That's his role. The dude,
that old grandfather thing.
No question.
I mean, so the guy who played, the guy who played the villain from The Vanishing is also the dude. That is pretty powerful because he's a despicable guy in both The Vanishing, Jagged Edge. There's a bunch of others where he's, when he was younger, his career was much more all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be Jeff Bridges. I'm a huge Jeff Bridges fan though. Also there's Benedict Cumberbatch, who's been pretty good guy and a pretty good bad guy. Christian Bale.
Christian Bale can just Batman. Take on. I mean, he could just be anybody at this point, right?
Yeah, and he played American Psycho. There's, I think Jeff Bridges is pretty much the number one person in that particular situation. And And
out of
Tom
left field
Hardy,
here,
I see
Will
what you.
Ferrell.
Also, Sam Jackson. Will Ferrell.
It's Mugatu.
Okay, we'll put him on the list.
And he's Ron Burgundy.
Why not put him on the list?
I would love to see a fight between Mugatu and Ron Burgundy.
Well, Mugatu wasn't ever supposed to. All right, never mind.
How great would that be?
You've made a mockery of this. I
did not.
You've not done your research. You've
not
done your homework.
I pulled out Zoolander. I mean, I think that that goes above and beyond research.
Zoolander does not. That's just
wait. So
terrible.
wait, you're saying comedy villains doesn't count?
No, I'm talking about people in the caliber of. I'm talking about drama. I'm people who you despise. Mugat, that's not. He's a laughable idiot. You know, he's not a villain. He's not someone you're afraid of. I was never afraid of that idiot.
No,
you know. Like Hovecki is talking Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman's
That's
a good
what
choice.
I'm talking about.
I like Gary Oldman.
Also, Daniel Day-Lewis. Boom.
Has Daniel
Day-Lewis played Bill the Butcher and then Abraham freaking Lincoln? All right.
I heard Abraham Lincoln was a piece of crap, though. I mean, I'm not sure. You know, not the hero. Not the hero.
You mean in real life? The guy in real life? Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. I heard some bad stuff about Lincoln. They're gonna take a statue down. It's terrible.
I'll start an Underground Railroad for you, so you can take that unpopular opinion with you. Okay.
Lincoln's got nothing on Washington.
Right.
I really don't.
Let's not even start that debate.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, that's a bad joke, though. That's the kind of joke that gets you canceled on Twitter. Don't do it.
Well, Hovecki said he's gonna be the co-host next, so they have as long as we have succession plans. If we have a succession plan, we're in good shape. It's those who have no plan.
You know what? If you have a succession plan, why destroy your show just to see if the plan works?
Yeah, kind of.
All right.
Well, how else would you know? No, yeah. Got to go through the field test. Favorite Gary Oldman role, real quick. We just switched over. We'll do a rogue file on him too, but go ahead.
Favorite Gary Oldman role is between I forget his name, the lieutenant from The Professional.
Okay.
And Dracula.
Yeah, Dracula. Oh man,
my favorite.
Was so good.
I mean, look, Drexel or Drexler from True Romance was really good. I think it's Drexel from True Romance. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're gonna ask me, there's another movie I can't qualify it because I don't remember the name of it. But I remember watching it. I remember, and I will know it by next week. I'll bring it up by next week.
This is Drexel Spivey.
Yeah, Drexel. So I knew it. See, I said it right. So there was a movie. Gary Oldman was in it.
Yeah.
I saw Gary Oldman's name in the credits. I
said,
"Oh, Gary Oldman's in this. That's interesting." Didn't know who he was in the film until the credits.
Wow.
There was a main character in the film. He was in the whole film.
That's great.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. I thought Gary Oldman was supposed to be in this film. And then when the credits rolled and they said that character was Gary Oldman, I was absolutely floored. That's Gary incredible. Oldman is he's an amazing guy. Also, Christoph Waltz, who plays a great villain and a great hero at the same time. Yeah.
When did he play hero? I'm trying to think.
It was in Django Unchained. He was a good guy, and he's been in a couple other dramedies. Drama.
Oh, so we're including dramedies, but we're not including comedies.
A dramedy is not a comedy. That's why it's called a dramedy. Look, this is my game. I make the rule.
Okay.
You didn't make the rule. I'm telling you, comedies don't count, but dramedies do.
Okay.
Done.
Okay.
Done.
All right.
Move on. Next segment.
Next time, I'll actually spend more time on developing this segment as I did on the logo. I got to be honest, that logo took me a while. And so I was kind of like, all right, we'll figure this out as we go along. What do you guys think? Is Tom Hardy a rogue?
We'll work on the logo and wing it on the show, right?
Well, the logo's, it looks really good. Like, I'm just staring at it. Yeah. Like, damn.
That
was good. That was tight. That was tight.
You found the X-Files font. That's what you did. That's the extent of it.
That wasn't easy. It took me like at least 20 minutes to do this logo. Are you kidding me? At least 20 minutes. All right. Let us know what you think. Tom Hardy, best role he's had. Are you looking forward to Venom? Put it all in the comments. We will comment back. Coming up next. Oh, I get to hand off the segment. It's another one of Hassan's Rogue Rages when we return. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. Now, we do this from time to time. We give the entire segment over to Hassan to just let it rip, whatever it is that you're feeling. And I put a little challenge to you this week to come up with a catchy catchphrase along with it. So we'll see how that tail ends. It
doesn't work if you actually call it a catchphrase, though. It's got to catch on. Like on its own, it's got to be organic. If you say it's a catchphrase, then people I'm not acknowledging your catchphrase. It's cringe if you say it's a catchphrase.
Really?
Yes. Do you think "Come on down" was originally meant to be a catchphrase? It just became famous, right? It's like "Let's get ready to rumble" whenever they do boxing. It's become cringe now. It's like, let's get ready to.
He trademarked that. He trademarked that. Yeah, that was smart on his part. Very smart on his part.
Fine.
Gets paid anytime. Anytime he can sue people. He could sue Marvel if they wanted to use it. They'd sue him back, but Rogue Rage, my man. Let her rip. The floor is yours.
How many streaming services do you have?
So funny you should ask that.
That you never watch.
Funny you should ask that. I have 4. But I'm trying to get that bundle package. So I have Hulu separately, and then they came out with the Hulu, like the Disney package that has Hulu in it. And I was like, all right, I want to find out how to fix this so I can get the deal. I get ESPN Plus too, and I end up paying less. And like, you have to call us, and I'm like, who's got time to call people? I'm not calling.
Hulu. We're in too deep already. I mean, just give me a ballpark. How many?
I got like 4 or 5. Yeah, I'll go 4 or 5. Actually, yeah,
you got 4 or 5.
I got 5.
Okay. What's your favorite streaming service?
I kind of like Disney Plus the most.
You do?
Out of all of them, just because...
It's not a trick question. Just wondering.
I like Disney Plus the most, I would say.
Why is that, though? There's a reason you like Disney Plus.
My kids...
Because it placates your children. Yes.
Yeah, it's for the kids. Right.
Yeah.
That's why.
Forget about it. What about you yourself? Where do you get most of your entertainment from? If you had to choose.
It's an adult tie between HBO Max and Netflix.
HBO Max has a better chance than all the other streaming services. The king is Netflix, and Netflix is probably going to stay the king. Okay, now that's a hot take, and that's a hot button subject, but. They're literally, I've seen like 5 or 6 people now, the important insider pundits talk about Netflix's foreign language game that they're playing now, that nobody else is cornering the market on Netflix. Like shows like Dark and Lupin, and a bunch of these other, like really the one that they just had in the Squid Game that they just put up there, and no one else is doing this. Only Netflix will put these things up, and then Netflix doesn't even announce that these things are dubbed in English. They just put it up there as they actually propel them to you as foreign films, and they treat them with the same level of respect as that they do their English speaking paraphernalia, their English speaking content. And they are actually these foreign shows and movies are trending the top 10 now, because people are just like, oh, that's something else to watch. That's new. And because there's not a stigma of the foreign, these are from other countries on top of them. People a lot of times don't even know that they're watching something foreign until they boot it up, and by then they're like, all right, well, I'm just going to give it a chance, and then they go through, and the shows are very good. Disney Plus is a really strong product, really strong. But Disney Plus is only going to be able to ever do Disney stuff. And in order for their streaming service to continue working, they're going to have to keep perpetuating content nonstop.
Yep.
They are ultimately never going to be able to compete with a hub that is an amalgam of different foreign markets, American markets, European markets, movies, brand new movies, old movies, original television shows, original movies. No one's ever going to be able to compete with that. And Netflix has impressed me recently, and this is the reason why I'm talking about this right now, is that they realize, all right, the market is getting flooded with our business model.
Yep.
We're going to have to go outside of the box. We are going to have to diversify everything. We are going to have to show everyone that there is content that these other streaming services either have no access to or don't believe there's any viability in. And we're going to have to make that content accessible to the masses. And they've done it, to the point where there are some foreign shows like Lupin, which was trending. The first half of it trended in the top 10 for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
The second half stayed there for maybe like a week and a half or something like that. Lupin is getting a second season because of their success on Netflix. So it's probably it was a French show. It's probably being propelled to get another season because of the success of the overseas success it had, and maybe not necessarily the success it had in its own native country. I think that's fantastic. I think their game is still the biggest game in town. They were the first ones. They were the ones who invented this whole thing. They're still doing, full season releases.
Yep.
Unlike Amazon and Disney, who have realized that they cannot compete with Netflix on that level.
Yep.
And their product doesn't trend long enough to be competitive with Netflix on that level. So now they've had to do weekly releases, which I understand it. But hey, they all told us to cut the cord and get rid of cable because we would be able to watch everything we wanted on demand. Right? That was one of the carrots that they offered us in order to leave coaxial cable behind in the first place. And now they're reneging on it because it's not getting them the attention that they want. And the reason that they are forced to compromise their business plans and their the level of the reach of their entertainment is because they are constantly chasing the Netflix gold. Right. It's like the MCU. It's why the DCEU, which is no longer exists, but it's why the DCEU will never compete with the MCU because they're copying someone.
Yep.
And all these other services are going to be copying Netflix, and Netflix is going to keep pioneering, hopefully.
Is this a good or bad thing in your mind?
I just said I think it's great. I think this is fantastic. Have you been listening to me?
I didn't hear that you said that it's great in any way, shape, or form.
I never say anything is great. And the one time I said something was great, you just decided to tune it out. Okay, that's fine.
I literally been listening to you the entire time.
I said it was great. I said this is fantastic. I said this is a highly diversified model. I said no one's going to be able to compete with this. I said it's a monster. I said that all the other services, as good as they are, I find that HBO Max a bit glitchy. To be honest with you,
I think a lot of people do.
I've had to reboot it like several times just to watch one episode of like Babylon 5, so I mean it's not my ideal service. It can be, it has the potential to be. Of all of them, it has the best potential to be a competitor to Netflix because they are also reaching outside of markets and they're pioneering things, and they're doing, they've cornered the market on a day and date release, mainstream movies, which if they can make that business model stick, that will be a competition for Netflix. That will they'll get movies before Netflix, before any of the services get the movies, So
Netflix also legitimized
I just
streaming content as real content. which I think is interesting because I go back to when House of Cards first was announced, right? And there were digital shows before, right? There was stuff that like, oh, go to the website. This is when the
web series.
Like, well, yeah, when the internet was still kind of in its infancy, high speed internet was in the like the early 2000s. It would be like, do you want more of this show? Go to NBC.com for an exclusive, and you're like, whatever. Like, that's not real. That's low budget. Or
for the record, I've never done that sound. Just for the record,
I did it all the time.
I've never done.
I'm like, I got no time for that. I want my real shows because it's on the real TV. Or I want my real.
That's why you never watch anything because you're matting the whole time. But, okay,
I stand by my. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, okay, House of Cards. That's got Kevin Spacey. That's kind of crazy. Back before he was weird Kevin Spacey.
Yes, like we don't have to talk about
Robin Wright Penn,
Kevin
and you're
Spacey.
like, wow, and this is they're treating this like a real show, and all of a sudden,
I agree. I mean, it used to be an alien concept, even to me.
Right?
I'm like, I'm not. I am not a pioneer. I am not one of the people who said this is going to be great. It's going to revolutionize everything. I didn't say that at all. I was like. I'm not watching that. No one else is watching it. I'm not watching it. No one's regulating any of this stuff. It's all crap. And look, there have been a lot of Netflix series that have been, have just, used the model of 13 episodes, but really didn't have a story that could have stretched for 13 episodes. And they've compromised a lot of stuff. There have been a lot of bad things on Netflix. And I am not convinced, even though I am a proponent of it, I am not convinced binging a show is the best way to watch a show. I don't know. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
Yeah.
Depends. So it's not a perfect system by any stretch of the imagination. However, it is the best game in town, and it's the best bang for your buck that you're going to get. Especially if you're single. You don't have any kids. I don't have any kids. So
It's got actually. It's got a lot of shows for
as an adult.
It's got a lot of shows.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I understand Disney Plus, man. I could just put a kid down in front of the television at Disney Plus and then leave, literally, like, go away, and then that kid will be fine, right? He'll be placated the whole day long. So I can see the appeal of that. And look, having everything, having Star Wars and Marvel and cartoons and everything at my disposal at the click of a button is fantastic. No question.
That's why I ping Disney a little higher, because it's the recognizable characters. Yeah. It's the recognizable ones.
I understand, but I mean, for your money,
I agree with you.
You know, all this stuff is going to go up and keep going up, right? Yep. The only thing gets my goat about Netflix is just their interactive menus, where you're looking for something to watch, and it's constantly. It's like that. It's like the advertisements in Minority Report, where like Tom Cruise is like walking through a train station, and like he's got beer commercials coming at him, because everything is interactive and holographic.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, Anderson, you want a beer today?" And it's just like every time he's constantly trying to like keep a low profile. These ads are just calling him out everywhere he goes. That's kind of what surfing Netflix is like. It's like, oh, what do you go? You want to watch this? You want to watch that? I was like, no, I'm just surfing. I'm looking for something. So yeah, nothing is perfect, but like I said, biggest game in town, first game in town, still the best game in town as far as I'm concerned, and that is the end of rant.
End of rant or end of rage?
Rage.
You screwed up your own catchphrase. What happened here?
Not a catchphrase.
Well, not if it doesn't catch on because you keep saying it wrong. Rage out, and that's all the rage. I had a couple. They weren't very good. That's our show for tonight, guys. We'll do better next week. Because we've got Venom, Let There Be Carnage review. We got Victor Dandridge, I think, is going to be dropping by. He and I are going to preview New York Comic Con. He's going to talk about Venom, because I know he'll definitely see. I think he saw it already, because he's Victor Dandridge. He's the hardest working man in comics, and that's just what he does. But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to go on. We will see you guys next week.
Rogue Wave.